If you don't have money, sell your cloak and buy a sword. Why did he tell them to buy a sword? For the kitchen to cut onions and potatoes?
That's not the Jesus I know. But okay,
But you haven't read the Bible. Your problem is this.
No, please. Okay. So tell me the passage.
Okay, if I show you the passage.
Okay, show me the
Hear
passage.
me out.
Yes.
If I show you the passage,
Yes.
how will it change your perspective?
Yes, definitely I will.
You'll change what?
I will definitely reconsider the Jesus I know. I will surely see Jesus in a different way.
Adnan Rashid,
And I give you
Mansour
advice.
Nasheem will be
And you
asked
do not
these
accept
questions.
them.
Yeah.
You
For
are going to
example,
ignore me as
I'm
much
telling
as you
to a
want.
child,
it doesn't matter.
oh please,
because the questions
don't
will be asked.
Ignore him, guys,
don't
ignore
play
him.
with the bicycle, you know, because you're not very skillful. Don't make these stupid things. Don't like ride the bicycle without your hands.
By the way,
and then this guy,
you know,
wait, and then this guy is
what's
not.
happening okay, you know,
is not listening.
yeah.
It's gonna have bad consequences. It's not a punishment.
Yeah, but bad
It's just a-
consequences.
it's just a
listen.
consequence of
I like the way you say
misbehavior.
bad consequences.
Yes.
When the last passage there says, "Bring the enemies to
Simple
me.
as that.
Bring the enemies who do not want me to be king over them, and slay them all."
Yes.
Okay, wait.
But this
wait,
is not talking about him.
I'll let
It's
you
talking
talk a
about
long
the
time.
nobile.
I think I've been patient a
Yes.
long time. Now listen to what the exegesis of the Christians say about this, because you are not learned in that. Yes, let's go to the scholars of the Christians who translate this. This is Gill's explanation to the entire Bible, and this is what he says. He says,
That's the NIV Bible.
Why
bro.
this one should
Yeah,
be
why,
the right
why,
one?
why are you reading from
I'm
NIV?
talking about the exegesis, which
Yeah,
is the
but
Gill's
that's, but that's NIV.
No, the Gill's explanation is not the NIV. Try
But
to under-
it says NIV in bracket there.
yeah, but I'm not reading that, am I?
but-
Stop interrupting if you don't know what I'm reading. It says Gill's explanation of the entire Bible
From the
explains that
NIV.
it was to explain what will happen to the Jews. When Christ shall come back a second time, Jesus will destroy the Jewish nation for rejecting him, and then all other enemies will be slain and destroyed
That's
as well.
bullshit.
Okay,
That's
okay,
rubbish.
I'll let
Okay.
you finish. Let me finish.
No,
Let me
I
finish.
read
No,
it.
I haven't
Thank
finished
you.
yet.
Thank you.
I haven't
Okay.
finished yet. Stop
Okay,
interrupting.
no, okay, fine.
Okay?
You mean
And then he
this guy
says,
is so rude,
death
but stop inter-
and destruction will be the fate of whoever does not accept Jesus' reign as the warrior king. Now, because you're not a scholar, I'm not a scholar, that's the reason I'm reading the Christian scholars who give an exegesis. Well, you can read all the others. They have a
This
very
guy is
similar
so rude,
explanation.
you know?
Okay? Now, this
Who
shows
gave him the right to
that
speak
this
about the
is the
Bible?
reason that Jesus also says many other things about killing and destroying his enemies. When he says in 1 Corinthians 15:24,
Another nation
yes,
to speak for
that
another
he
nation,
is going
and
to
then
make
they
his
still have
enemies
their
his
own,
footstools. Yes, do you know what that
way of
means?
life. I think it's wrong, you know?
Yes.
Escapade.
Again,
think
that
it's
is that is the reason that in the Bible we see many passages that Jesus explains from the Old Testament. For example, in Matthew 15:3 and 4. Are you listening? Matthew 15:3 and 4. He says, "Anyone, this is the command of God, that anyone curses the mother or father shall be put to death." Why is Jesus in the New Testament quoting a command from Exodus, the Old Testament, if it didn't apply in the New Testament time?
Interpretation, right?
Have you got an explanation to that?
I mean, Jesus many times referred to the Old Testament. I think that he was talking to the people at that time where he had to refer to the Old Testament.
Why?
Because that was the main religion. I mean, you know, the Jews' religion was the main religion. So he has to.
So why is
with
Jesus
their own
saying?
words.
Why is Jesus
But
saying
anyway,
this is the
so-
command of God?
Yeah, because that's what the God was believing that people were, the Jews.
Did
were
Jesus
believing.
believe the Old Testament was the command of God?
Yes, I think it was. He believed that it was the command of God.
Good.
But he was clearly against some of the people.
Do you
things-
believe the Old
he
Testament
was-
is the command of
He was
God?
clearly. He was taking some of the things from the Old Testament.
No.
But he clearly made it
Yeah,
better.
but do you, my friend, if Jesus believed is the command of God, do you believe the Old Testament is the command of God?
I think that Jesus, when, for example, he talks in the parable, in the Sermon of the Mount,
No, I'm talking about the laws. I'm not talking about the parables. I'm talking about the laws.
he's talking about things that were in the Old Testament, but he makes.
John,
he
I'm
makes
talking
them
about the
better.
laws. Listen to me.
Yeah, the laws.
The laws that are in the Old Testament, are they the laws and the commands from God Almighty?
Some of them, not all of them, because he changed them.
Okay, so which part of the Old Testament is not from God? Give me one command.
He made it clear. In the
Which one? Which one?
He made it clear.
In fact, he says to
when he
keep.
said, for example, the laws whereby you need to like go, like for example, if someone like eye for an eye and what is this? and T for the T.
Did he say those were not from
Yeah.
God?
No, what he said, have you heard this? But I tell you, I truly tell you,
This guy here, he's got no right to speak
you
on
need
behalf
to
of the
you need to
Bible.
love
And-
you need to
no
love
one
your
of
enemies.
No.
Okay?
The question to you was,
So,
would you
and
consider,
turn
did
the other, he
Jesus,
said, turn the other cheek.
no,
he
did
said.
Jesus consider,
So
oh my God.
He's taking
Once
the law,
again, you're not listening to
he's-
the question.
He's taking the law.
Once again, you're
but
not
he's
listening to the
changing-
question.
He's changing it.
Did
He's-
Jesus
he's modifying
consider
it.
eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, stoned adultery? Did he consider them as laws of God or not?
Yeah, but he considered law, but he made it better. He kind of, he said, this is the law, but I'm gonna give you a better one.
Okay, so when Jesus
So,
says,
that's
listen,
what he's
listen,
doing.
you know what? Once again, you're actually going against Jesus. Because Jesus says anyone who changes the law, even a jot, will be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. So if Jesus changed the law from bad to better,
The good
then
law.
he himself,
The right law.
then he himself will be the least in the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah, the law that he's making.
No, you're going again. Have you not realized? Jesus said anyone who
Yeah, but
changes
you want-
the law, even a dot, even a jot,
But
will
you-
be called the least in the kingdom of heaven.
But you-
Now you're saying
this can
Jesus
be
changed the
interpreted
law
many
from
times,
something
many
that was
ways.
bad to make it better. In other words, you're condemning Jesus by his own words. That's the problem when you don't read the Bible, my friend.
But anyway, you quote many times this one.
But I didn't quote
Herman.
any about Omen
Yeah,
today.
and I don't know if you actually ever read it. Have you read it?
I've read parts of it, yeah.
Part of it.
Yeah,
So
why-
which part have you read it?
I've read the part where where he says that there are so many differences between the different manuscripts of the Bible, sorry, of the New Testament, that there are number of words in the New Testament.
Like in the Bible, it gives you lots of
Okay, so you read just that part.
That is
Have you-
one of the parts I read.
Have you read about
What is the point you're trying to
have
make?
Have you read the part about the anti-Jewish current that was in at the beginning in the early Christians community?
What's that got to do with the Bible?
No, it has to do with the passage that you just mentioned about that Christian historians that is talking about the. He's trying to interpret that passage of Jesus that is referring to the Jews.
So you're saying
Is-
there is anti-Semitism inside the Bible?
No, I'm saying that there was a current anti-Semitism current, like
Within the Christians.
within the Christian, in the early Christians, but
Yeah,
not
I
all
don't
the
dispute
Christian,
that.
but not all the Christian, and there was also alteration of the texts that were in favor of the anti-Semitism.
So you're saying the
Correct.
Bible's been changed as well?
Also to favor the anti-Semitism. And
So
some
why should we believe in the
passages-
Bible then?
Some passages, I don't know whether I need still to finish because I'm right here, so I've got just a few pages left. But anyway.
By the way, do
there's
you know
some
you was a Christian
oh,
before?
For example, I know.
Yeah.
There is a passage. There are some passages. Where they've been changed in order to support the anti-Semitism. Okay, I don't know whether this refers to Luke. I don't think so, but this passage we just discussed about.
By the
But
way,
they
you know,
surely-
I'm surprised
but
you said that Jesus was not the God of the Old Testament. Why did you say that?
I think that
Is it because you find the Old Testament to be very harsh and the laws are very strict?
because Jesus actually did he said things that kind of made the
are not
the
as
Old
harsh?
Testament better, and also it goes not completely against, but sometimes it goes against. Some
But Jesus
things.
himself
for
says-
example, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth.
Yeah.
He completely changed that because he said, "I truly say you." Turn the other cheek, or like love your enemies, which wasn't in the Old Testament.
So what do you do? Would you follow that command? Love your enemies?
Yes, I
You would?
try to.
Okay,
It's very difficult, but I
No,
try
no,
to.
no. Imagine you were the head of the state, head of a country. Would you have an army?
No, I wouldn't.
See how impractical it is?
No, I wouldn't have an army.
You would not have an army.
No.
So you would let them rape your women if the enemy comes and rapes them. What would you do?
Why
Turn the
they
other cheek?
should- Why they should
Have
be-
one woman. Rape one woman. No, give her another one. I mean, this is not practical, my friend. Defense is
No,
is
because-
every country in the
Wait.
world has defense. Even the Vatican has defense. Yes. So now you tell me
That's why they're
why
not
would
following
why would we trust why would we trust you to become the head of state when you wouldn't even consider defense for your country? You would rather your enemies come and kidnap your women or rape your women and steal the
But
wealth
why
and the
there
properties.
should be- that's the problem.
What's the
In
problem?
the first place, why there should be this? Why there should be this? If everyone, because to put it simple, if everyone actually follow Jesus, if
Yeah.
everyone actually had to follow Jesus, these things wouldn't happen in the first place.
Yeah, but-
so you wouldn't even need an army because
but that's in
if
a-
everyone followed the law of Jesus, these things wouldn't happen.
But as a person,
because
listen.
if you have to love your enemies, you know.
You know there are many people who follow
How can you
Jesus.
start raping people or try to kill people?
Yeah. That is.
If everyone follow the law,
if you lived in an
there wouldn't
utopia,
be-
if you lived in a bubble, that might be true. But we live in a real world, my friend.
Yes.
We have people who believe in God. We have people who don't believe in God. Let alone Jesus.
So-
Now wait.
So Jesus is telling
Here.
to follow
Hear
the
me out.
law.
Hear me
So
out.
if everyone had
Hear me
followed
out.
the
Hear me
law,
out.
there wouldn't be
You
need
said
for an
if.
army.
Your key word was if.
Yes.
But what if they did not? Would you have an army then?
No, the command that he's making is to follow him.
No, but the
Yes.
question is this:
So
if the world did not follow Jesus, would you then have an army for your country?
I wouldn't need an army. I wouldn't need an army.
You would be the worst king ever. If you think your state doesn't need defense or protection, then you would be the worst. No one would elect you as a king in the first place because you are a pacifist. Am I right? By even Jesus himself told his disciples to buy a sword. If you don't have money, sell your cloak and buy a sword. Why did he tell them to buy a sword? For the kitchen to cut onions and potatoes? No, it wasn't. So if Jesus himself told them to buy a sword, who are you to be such a pacifist?
Where Jesus said to buy a sword.
In the Bible. Your problem is you don't read the Bible.
Okay, so Dim, tell me what passage it is.
I don't remember the exact, but it's in the Bible.
I want to know the passage.
I will tell you in a minute, no problem. But
Okay,
I'm
please
asking
tell
you,
me.
if it's found in there, how will it change your perspective?
Let's see if it's a parable first.
No, it's not a parable. It's,
Okay.
it's real. In fact, it's.
So Jesus said to
in fact,
his
his
to buy a
disciple.
sword.
Yeah, in fact, his disciple.
I
don't know.
don't think so. It's not the Jesus I know. But okay,
But
so
you haven't read the Bible. Your problem is this.
No, please. Okay. So tell me the passage.
Okay, if I show you the passage.
Okay, show me the
Hear
passage.
me out.
Yes.
If I show you the passage.
Yes.
How will it change your perspective?
Yes, definitely I will.
You will change what?
I will definitely reconsider
Wait,
the
no,
Jesus I know. I will surely see Jesus in a different way.
Okay. There are many such passages. In fact, I gave you one passage already. The passage in Matthew 15:3. You want to read that? Matthew 15:3 and 4.
15:3.
Yeah, read it.
What time is it? I need to go now. So.
Now it's time to go. Read it. Matthew 15:3 and 4. I gave you.
Matthew 15.
Yeah.
Matthew 15. And then what? 4. 13, 4. Or 15, 4.
Matthew chapter 15.
Yes.
You can read from the beginning if you want, but it's mainly 3 and 4 because you will see I took it out of context. So read it from the beginning. Doesn't matter. Read it aloud
For
if you don't
God
mind.
said, okay, so then some Pharisees and teachers of the law came to Jesus from Jerusalem and asked, why do your disciples break the tradition of the elders? They don't wash their hands before they eat. Jesus replied, and why do you break the command of God for the sake of your tradition? For God said, honor your father and mother, and anyone who curses his father or mother must be put to death.
What do you understand by that? That's not a parable, by the way.
For God said, he's referring to the Old Testament.
For God said, who is God?
Yes, he refers to the Old Testament.
No, but when he says for God said,
Yes,
which God is he
he's
referring
talking about the God of the God of the Jews.
to? So how many gods do you believe in?
He's talking about the God who everyone who's talking about.
No,
because everyone.
Okay, which God is he talking about? The one true God or some other God?
He's talking about the God of
The one true God
the
or somebody else?
Yeah, the God of the Jews. So the God.
Why
that the
did he say
people
God of
knew.
the Jews? Is it not your God?
Because he's the God people were referring to.
Okay, is that Jesus' God?
Okay, let me finish the reading.
That is
For
finished
God
already
said,
there.
honor your father and mother,
Yeah.
and anyone who curses his father or mother must be put to death.
Do you believe
but
in
do you
that?
say that if a man says to his father or mother, whether help you might otherwise have received from me is a gift devoted to God, he is not to honor his father with it.
That's what they say, yeah?
Thus you nullify the word of God for the sake of your tradition. You hypocrites. Isaiah was right when he prophesied about you. These people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They
He's talking about the
worship
Jews
me
then.
in vain. Their teachings are... Yes, I read this already.
So what do you make of that?
Are but
What do you make of that?
rulers taught by men. He is a bit annoyed by the Pharisees because they were like... so Pharisees teaches below, he came to Jesus and asked him... They were trying to kind of show him that he was incoherent or something like that.
No. What was the initial point that Jesus made? That this is a command of God, that anyone who curses the mother or father shall be put to death. Which God is he talking about? The one true God, the God of somebody else?
No. So Jesus is very clear that this is why you don't know him, because he's what he's saying here. They ask him a question, and he's asking the question back, because he's saying, oh, so you want to, you're challenging me basically. You're saying that I'm not respecting the law, whatever. But you got a law which said this. He's talking to them to very low, to the law they follow.
Whose
So
law
it's
is
to the
that?
Pharisees.
He said it's a command of God.
Yes.
Command of
For
whose?
God said, yeah, but so you didn't get.
I get it. I got it
Jesus
very
was-
nicely.
I
But
said,
you didn't.
I said, no.
You're in
didn't-
denial still.
You didn't get the
Which part did I not get?
attitude, the attitude of anti-religious attitude that Jesus had, because here.
Was an anti-religious.
Yes, he was an anti-religious. He was.
Okay.
He was.
Go on,
if
explain.
you knew him, you knew that he was.
Okay, explain.
So he said, for God said, so he's replying back, and why do you break? He's talking to them. Why do you break the command of God? Because you are accusing me, yeah. So let's go back. You're referring to the law. Let's refer to the law you're talking about, which is your law.
No, which is
It's
the command
your
of
law.
God.
Yes,
He
but
didn't
he-
say your law.
Yeah.
So don't change.
No,
Don't twist
wait,
the scripture.
wait.
He says this is a command of God.
Yes.
Who's
yes.
God?
Yes.
Who's
their
God?
But he's talking about their God.
But that God
Because
is same as
they-
his.
Because they are talking
Oh my
about their
God,
own.
this guy doesn't know his
No.
own Bible.
No,
No wonder he doesn't understand.
No.
Are you trying to psychoanalyze Jesus now?
No, it's clear. No,
That's what you're trying to do.
No.
You know what was
Because
you
if
know
you
what was
knew
the
the
argument
character,
there?
if you
Do you
knew
know
the
what was the
character.
argument there? The argument was the Pharisees
You don't
used
know
to
him.
the Pharisees used
That's
to
so
say
you don't know him.
no, you don't know him.
No, you don't.
He said this is a command of
Clearly-
God. Which
clearly.
command of God?
Clearly,
Which
you don't
command
know
of God?
him. You don't know
The
him.
command of God that was the God of Jesus as well.
Yes, but anyway, he said,
Not anyway.
For God said, the God that they believe
Okay, here's the one that you were looking
honor
for.
your father and mother, and anyone who curses his father or mother must be put to death. But you say that if a man says to his father or mother, whatever help you might otherwise have received from me is a gift devoted to God. Whatever help, oh God, I've got a problem with English here, but anyway.
Yeah, I can tell.
Whatever help you might otherwise have received from me is a gift devoted to God. He is not to honor his father with it. Whatever help you might otherwise have received from me. Thus, you nullify the word of. He's kind of showing them that they contradict themselves. He's showing them that they're not consistent with their own law. He's kind of saying, oh, you want me to kind of.
Why do you keep saying your law? Why do you not
Because
realize?
he's talking to the Pharisee. He's always, if you knew the gospel, I think that you just speak some passages of the gospel, but you never actually read them.
No, you
Because-
don't understand them even after reading them.
No, listen. Sorry. When he's talking, so he's constantly arguing with the Pharisee. Jesus is constantly arguing with the Pharisee.
When
and
he
he's
says
annoyed
this is
by
the
them.
command of God, what do you understand by that? Are you trying to say the Pharisees has a different God than his God?
No, he's
Who's
no,
God?
Because
How many gods do you believe
He's
in?
using their own standard
Yes.
to show them that they are not consistent.
And that
They don't-
standard- wait,
they,
wait.
they are
Okay,
hypocrites.
good. So when you
because
say
he's using their own
yeah,
standard.
when you say their own standard,
Yes.
where did they get the standard from?
Yes.
From where?
Yeah, their God, which the Jews God.
No. Why do you say Jewish
Yahweh,
God? Why do you say
Yahweh.
Jewish God? Is Yahweh not the God of Jesus?
Yes, he's a God of.
Yes.
Yes, but
not very consistent.
no. Yes.
If he's the God of Jesus, so
he's
when
the
Jesus
God
says,
of Jesus,
okay, but what?
as you can see in the New
Was he
in
the
New
God of
Testament-
Moses?
No, wait.
Was he
As
the
you
God of
can
Moses?
Wait, as you can see in the New Testament,
Yeah.
Jesus is actually changing this law.
No, it's not. He's saying
Yes,
he's using the law of the Old Testament
he's-
to remind them
yes, he's
that they are
using-
being inconsistent.
yes, the things that Jesus.
I think you have not understood even after reading it. I'm sorry to say that. Not only the fact that you do not read the Bible, but you do not even understand it after reading it. They were telling Jesus' disciples, yes, they were complaining to Jesus that look at your disciples, they do not even wash their hands after eating. Then Jesus rebukes them from the Exodus, from the Bible from the Torah that they believe in, by saying that you do not even keep the command of God. The command of God is that anyone who curses the mother or father shall be put to death. This command of God is what Jesus believes in. That's why he said no one should actually disobey the command of God. No one should break the law. The law is the command of God. So when Jesus says this is a command of God, he knew exactly what he was saying, that the law that was given to Moses, the God of Moses, which is the God of Jesus, says to them, anyone who curses a mother or father shall be put to death. You know after how many years did Jesus come after Moses? Yes, at least 1200 years after him. More than 1000 years after. Even after that, he's repeating the command of God. Why? If the Old Testament was no more relevant, no more applicable after 1000 years, after 1200 years, why do you think Jesus is reminding them of this Old Testament? Because it was still applicable to them. It was still applicable and it was still the command of God. I know you're reluctant because it goes against your pacifist nature. Your pacifist nature is not from the Bible, it's from the modern day.
But have you read
What do you say? From the modern, from your modern upbringing and from your modern understanding of the world,
But have
not
you-
from the Bible.
Have you read
Now
the,
wait.
Have you read the Sermon of the Mount?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Now-
So could you please read
Wait.
it again?
Before you do that, you asked me to bring to you the verse about the sword. Yes, that Jesus said about his disciples. 32. So it's in Luke 22:32. No, not 32, 36 I think. Here it is. Let's read from 35. Then Jesus asked them, when I sent you without purse, bag or sandals, did you lack anything? Nothing, they answered. He said to them, but now if you have a purse, take it, and also a bag. And if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one.
Oh,
Read it in context
you
if you
didn't know
want.
that was this.
Read it in context if you want. Yeah, what I wanted to say is this is from your liberal secular understanding that you are being a pacifist. But if you read the Bible, you wouldn't be such a pacifist because Jesus himself wasn't such a pacifist. Most of the time at least. He said, I've not come to bring peace, but to bring sword. And this sword wasn't just something which was a parable. It means that those people...
So what about the passage where
No,
Jesus-
answer this first. No, before you go somewhere else, answer this.
because you're saying that Jesus saying.
Yeah, I'm
bring
talking to the
sword.
camera.
What about-
The question I asked you was this.
What-
Why would he say
what
to
about-
sell even your cloak
But wait.
and buy a sword?
What about when Jesus said, whoever
Lives
act
by the sword,
words,
dies by
perish
the sword.
sword.
Yes. But answer this one now.
So he's contradicting himself. Then.
Yeah, he is actually, if you read this. Have you got anything to say for yourself?
I should read.
Yeah, read it. Read the whole passage. Read the whole chapter if you want. But you won't be able to change the context of that because at the end of the day, you will realize that Jesus is not always a pacifist. Do you remember what he did to the money changers, the ones in the synagogue? Yes, he turned the tables upside down. Basically, he drove them with a whip.
I know.
He drove them with a whip. A whip is not something a pacifist, especially like you, would use, because you wouldn't even have a defense for your country. You would let your own people be slaughtered by the enemy if they wanted to. Not everyone is a pacifist in the world. We have to realize and we have to prepare for such a thing. That there are people who are out there who are pure evil, who want to kill and destroy people who really want to live in peace. So we have to be prepared for that. And that is the reason every country in the world has some or the other form of defense. If they don't have a defense of themselves, they will actually employ other people to help them defend themselves.
Luke 22.
22:36.
Let me check here.
Yeah, check it
What
in your
is
Italian
it?
version, in any version you want. No
NIV.
problem.
What is NIV?
New International Version.
Let me check.
Okay?
So would you have an army or not now? Now that you saw that?
Listen.
I'm still not convinced. Maybe my Bible might be lying.
Couldn't get any more clear than that.
Yeah. He says, sell your cloak. I mean, in order to buy a sword. That's because when you don't have enough money, you need to barter it for something else.
Exactly.
22.
36.
So if you follow Jesus, your whole narrative of being a
22,
pacifist
26.
crumbles.
Luke 22, verse 36.
36.
You can put it in context. I don't know. Slice it, dice it, do anything you want, but the sword remains.
He also said you will live by this word, perish by this word. So
It's contradicting at the most. Yeah? It's contradicting himself then. He's telling them to buy a sword and then he's saying...
He's your prophet anyway.
Sorry? But that's not my Bible. Nice try. Exactly. They do that all the time, don't they? My Jesus, the one that I believed in, wasn't crucified. Yes? Especially for the sins of people. Because Allah doesn't require no blood to forgive. Yeah, by the way, earlier I wanted to show you the difference between forgiveness and payment.
22, 36.
Yeah, 36. 22, 36. Look. Yeah, the difference between payment and forgiveness is that in payment you expect something in return. Yes, for the favor you're doing. In forgiveness you let it go free of charge. Yes? So you might have some feeling or something like that, but in terms of an agreement,
but
you don't have anything.
No, you still have a feeling.
But that's not called a sacrifice.
Of pain, which
Pain. So you're saying, imagine if you lend money to your brother, and you say, okay, I'm going to lend you this, pay me after 1 month, and then your brother says, I'm unable to pay you after 1 month, and then you say, I forgive you. You're saying you'll be hurt by that? I don't think it's listening now.
wait a second.
The Bible also says God forgives people from his own sake. He doesn't need your sheep, blood, nothing.
Yeah, in many
Isaiah.
passages he does, yeah.
Isaiah, he says something like that.
You're right, yeah. In fact, in the case of David, when he committed adultery, yes, he was forgiven. Was he not?
Okay, so in the King James Bible,
Yeah.
22.
Is that the one you believe in?
I know. I make a research about these, but it's really weird because I never heard these. And in the King's Bible,
Yeah, go on, read the same verse. Yeah, go on.
it said, and truly the Son of Man.
22:36. Is that the one you're reading?
22, no wait, 36.
Yeah.
Then said he unto them, but now he that had a purse, let him take it, and likewise his script, and he that had no sword,
Read it. Then give your commentary.
and-
Read it.
and he that had no sword, let him
No
sell his
sword.
garment and
No
buy
sword.
one.
Yes, no. The one who has no
I say
sword,
unto you that this
let him
is
sell his
written
garment. Yeah.
must yet be accomplished in me, and he was reckoned among the transgressors for the things that he may have done.
What happened, John? Your voice was very loud the last time when you were reading a different passage. All of a sudden it went down. Okay, anyway, look, I can find you many such verses, my friend. Your view about Jesus will change if you read the whole of the New Testament and the Old Testament as well. I'm surprised he said that Jesus is not the Lord of the Old Testament because there were many atrocities in the Old Testament. This is someone who believes in the incarnation of Jesus. I can't believe you're saying this now. That just because it doesn't agree with your pacifist, logical, rational nature, all of a sudden you just disregard God now. You really have to...
I mean, I don't have, as I said, anyway, you were right, the passage is there.
Okay, so
I
you
will-
said you're going to change your
no,
view
I
about
will-
Jesus.
I will-
Are you going to change your view about Jesus now?
Yes, I mean, I need to go through that passage take my time. Yeah. So I will read it again.
What are the money
and
changes?
see,
What do you think?
Understand why in that context he said that, but
What about the money changes? What's your view about that? The money changes, in the synagogue, when Jesus, he basically made a whip and he drove them all out.
Yeah. No, I know that passage. Yeah. He was angry because they were making money in the church.
So, would you do that?
Which represent the Vatican anyway.
Would you?
It's fine.
Would you do that? Would you drive out people with a whip?
I think there's nothing wrong to be angry. Okay, there's nothing wrong to be angry. Okay.
He wasn't just angry; he wanted to use violence against them. Why would he create a whip otherwise?
No, he was
It wasn't a
I
duster.
don't know- I
It
don't
was
know
actually a whip.
Yeah, but it wasn't whipping anyone.
How do you know he wasn't whipping anyone?
It's not written. So,
Oh, so
and
you would
if
actually.
if you look at
Would you terrorize people with a whip? You know what? Whip is not something like a duster. It actually terrorizes people. The ones who even see them whipping, it scares them really. The whole purpose of a whip is not that.
he was angry and he was showing that it was anger. He didn't use the whip against anyone. And if he were probably they would have put it in the scripture. But anyway,
Would you do that?
I think that if you look at the
John, would you do that?
No,
Would you do
wait,
that yourself?
If you look at the
So he's trying to be more holy than
Wait,
Jesus even
no,
now.
no, wait, if you
Holier
look at
than
the
Jesus,
if
wow.
if you look at the
That's a good title for you guys.
No,
Holier than Jesus.
If you look at the consistency of the character in the gospel, you will notice that Jesus, if you know the character, he wasn't. You can infer from all the other passages.
You haven't
that
read it.
He wasn't.
I had to show you a passage. My friend, with all due respect, you haven't read your Bible.
There are four gospels. And you mentioned one passage which I may have missed, or maybe I don't remember.
I can give you several other passages like this. How many have you missed? I don't know. Because you, with all due respect,
Okay,
haven't read even the Gospels.
Okay, so I would like to see.
Is that a fair
But anyway,
assessment?
now I need to go.
But is that a fair assessment about you? You haven't read most of the Gospels.
No, I read the gospel.
No, most of it you haven't read.
No, I read most of the gospel.
So you haven't found anything that is contrary to the pacifist nature of Jesus in the Gospels.
Or do you turn a blind eye to it?
Sorry,
Or do you turn a blind eye to it?
the blind.
A blind eye means did he just ignore it? Did he ignore the ones which were not a pacifist nature of Jesus? Have you ignored those passages?
No. I know that there's passages where Jesus has been very strict, also like in judgment, especially with the Pharisees. He was always very, very angry with the Pharisees.
Not just the Pharisees. Do you remember the Samaritan woman who came for his help? Do you remember what he called her?
Oh yeah.
What did he call her?
He said, he didn't call her directly. He just was referring. He said, don't. So he said, don't give to
The bread of the children
to the pigs,
to the dogs.
to the dogs.
If somebody calls someone in your family a dog, would you be offended?
Anybody who said that what I'm saying?
Yeah, sometimes you use very strong words.
This is not only offensive. This is a bit racist as well, because you know who the children of God are.